the cup and the league all to be won. Everyone knows there's a job to be done, and with a team so fine, I'm proud they're mine. We'll be singing this song. For we're far from Birmingham Athletic, and now we are on song. For we're far from Birmingham Athletic, and we'll go marching on.
The Dunfermline Athletic Former Players Association podcast is sponsored by Starnut Apparel. Affordable and stylish clothing born on the terraces. Listeners of this podcast can get 10% off their order by using code PODCAST at the checkout. Just head to www.starnutapparel.co.uk.
Welcome to a journey down memory lane that's sure to ignite your passion for the club we all adore. This is Walking Down the Holbeath Road, the podcast that reunites us with the legends who once graced the pitch at East End Park. I'm your host, Mikey Mokkiewicz, and I invite you to lace up your virtual boots as we step onto the hallowed turf of Dunfermline Athletics history. This podcast is your ultimate destination for all things Dunfermline Athletic former players, and we'll be sitting down with the heroes who made our dreams come true, scored unforgettable goals, and carved their names into the hearts of us Pars supporters. Each episode will deep dive into the stories that shaped their careers from their early days to the highs and lows of football. From promotion battles to cup triumphs, these players have witnessed it all. And now they're ready to share these memories, the dressing room tales, and all their insider insights with you. In this episode, I had the privilege of chatting to a real club legend, not just as a player, but also as a manager. Bert Paton dreamed of playing for his boyhood heroes when growing up in the streets of Valleyfield, which he would then achieve in 1962 when he signed for Jock Stein's Scottish Cup winning heroes. He would then later win the Scottish Cup himself in 1968 and also become the club's record goal scorer in European football, which is a record that still stands to this day. He also achieved his lifelong ambition of one day managing the club when in 1993 he replaced Jocky Scott as first team coach. Bert's period as manager would be one of the most successful in the club's recent history, including the iconic 1995-96 season when the club won the First Division title, which then followed a 5th place finish in the Premier League. So sit back, relax as we walk down the Holbeath Road with the legend that is Bert Paton.
Dunfermline were desperate for an equaliser and launched a strong raid down the right. The centre found Paton, who flicked it past Robertson.
So Bert, thanks for joining us on the podcast. It's a pleasure to be in your company as always. So how's life?
Doing fine.
Good stuff. Before we start, right, your shirt number predominantly at your Pars time in your cup final was number 8. So I'm just going to ask you 8 questions before we start.
Okay.
So who's your favourite current footballer in the world?
De Bruyne, I think. Some of the Manchester City players are exceptional, eh? In the world, oh geez, you've got to go for the big 2, either Ronaldo or Messi. They're the best that was gone, up today anyway.
Do you watch a lot of football on the TV?
Yeah.
Still right into the game?
Oh, I will watch it quite a lot of it, don't we? In fact, we're lost when it's not on.
The thing is, with Sky and stuff now, there's games on all the time though, isn't there? So
I know, you could sit on your backside every weekend without moving.
Yeah.
You know?
Brilliant. Right, next question. Your favourite song?
There's one. I've got the record in the drawer actually, it's that old.
What song is that?
I Love to Boogie.
I Love to Boogie.
I don't know who it was.
T-Rex.
T-Rex from the 70s.
Aye.
Brilliant. What's your favourite movie?
Movie? What's that?
Do you know watch films?
No.
No, it's not your thing.
I've never seen a film since God knows when. I wouldn't know when. The last was it the pictures?
Brilliant. Right, number 4. Your favourite holiday destination?
Oh, that's easy. Benidorm.
Benidorm. Not Magaluf,
No.
the trips with Dick and all the boys.
No. Too much drinking.
Question 5. Did you have any superstitions as a player or manager?
No, really, I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Nothing.
No.
Cool. What's your favourite meal?
Favourite meal now is pasta, really.
Pasta. What kind of pasta do you like? Just a tomato sauce through it, or
No,
is there a certain
What do you
type?
call that one I get?
Chicken and mushroom.
Chicken and mushroom.
Nice. Good choice. Number 7. Who was the biggest influence in your career?
Oh, jeez, now that's something. Probably my wife.
Good choice.
She's sitting
Brilliant. Question 8. Who's your best friend in football?
in football. Oh, I've quite a few actually. I wouldn't like to say any of them, but well, Dick and Pink,
Yep.
they're close anyway. They're big friends. All my other friends have died.
But you're still close to Dick and Pink, aren't you?
Yeah,
You still talk to them all the time.
yeah.
Brilliant. Right, we'll get started. So your early life, you were born in April 1942. A big family in Valleyfield. So tell us a little bit about your upbringing and growing up in Valleyfield.
Well, as you know, we were in Burn Street in High Valleyfield was a famous street in those days because they were all big families, because there weren't televisions in those days, so they had to do something. And so I was very fortunate that I had older brothers, and some of them were boxers and some of them were football players, and so I was always brought up with sport, you know. So they were a big influence in me too, because obviously they were working by this time and they were able to afford the football, which was like gold in those days, because nobody had that kind of money. But fortunately, my older brother, he was working the pit and he always had the ball, and he would always take us over the park and play about with the ball. Even in moonlight, we were running up and down the local junior park, passing the ball.
And we were just saying off mic, obviously it's changed days now with kids. You don't see them down the parks.
No, you very
Play
seldom.
football.
Very seldom. It's all organised now because, you know, I think they're frightened to let the kids out of their sight nowadays. You know, if you just go to some of these schools at 3 o'clock and see them coming out, the cars, there's many cars there waiting to take them. So they're missing out a big part of their life, really. That was half the fun.
Yeah. And what's your early memories of playing football and watching football?
Well, it was the juniors in Valleyfield. I used to rod sawdust the park. And when you done the lines in those days, it was sawdust. You had to go down to the local sawmill and get bags of sawdust and line the park. So I helped all that, and in the dressing room, they had a fire right in the middle of it, a brazier, you know, right in the middle of the dressing room. Which, to think about it now, it was staggering. And you used to always clean the boots and things like that, you know, and see all the old boys playing, and that's when you were allowed to tackle, and by Jove, they used to tackle.
Aye, changed days, eh?
Oh, jeez.
What's your early memories of the Pars as a youngster? Did you go along East End Park?
My memories was, I can't remember what age I was, but I was there with my friend, and we were shouting. They were playing, I think they were playing Race Rovers, and they were shouting, and they had a big dirty centre half at that time. I think he was either with Race Rovers or Dunfermline, and we were giving him a bit of abuse, and we got chased away to the other end of the park. That was one of my early memories, but I was never ever taken to a game or anything like that. You know, that was you just had to make do.
I suppose back then it's not like now. It was more difficult probably to get from Valleyfield to Dunfermline. It's not like the public transport options now.
Yeah, you're right there, because all I can remember was hitching lifts. hitch and lifts. In those days, people used to stop and give you a lift. But now you'd be frightened to do that because there's so many bomb pots about.
Very true. Very true. What was your pathway with playing football? You joined Tully Allen, didn't you?
I was actually working in the Valleyfield pit just a short time there, and I was going into the work underground when I sat next to a player, a guy who played for Tully Allen, and he asked me, "What are you doing?" And I says, "I'm not doing nothing, not playing with nobody." So he got me a trial, and then that led to going right to the final of the Scottish Juvenile Cup.
What age were you at this point, Bert?
Oh, must have been 16 or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're playing with full
16.
grown adults.
Yeah.
And how did you cope with that at 16?
Well, it was all right because all the boys around about you would help you. You know, if you were in any bother or somebody was bullying you or that, they would sort them out. In those days, you know.
And then round about that time, you're 16, 17, a Mr. Jock Steen approaches you and another club in England. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, what happened was I knew there was the Leeds United scout had been following my progress, and they arranged for him. The manager of Leeds United at that time was a Jack Taylor, and he was coming up from Leeds to my house in Valleyfield, and Jock Steen was coming out much the same time. And what happened was Jock Steen was called away, wasn't called away, but had gone away to a Hungarian was giving a talk down in England somewhere, Lillishall I think it was at that time. And so he sent out the scout. But when this manager come all the way up from Leeds, my dad would say, "You owe that man's really wanting you if he's coming all that." And he got up to my house in Valleyfield, he was looking at me. Aye, so then I joined Leeds then, and that was the start of it.
What was that like at 17 years old, going down to Leeds?
Well, when you see the big family I come from, they were glad to get me out of the house. It was one less to get fed.
How did you travel down to Leeds in those days?
Train
down, on your own?
Well, at that time, Billy Bremner was there as a young boy, and a boy called Ronnie Rafferty, I think it was Ronnie Rafferty. So Ronnie was older than Billy and I, and he had a car, so he used to bring us up. He was from Greysmouth, Falkirk way. Billy was Stirling, and I was Dunfermline, so he dropped Billy and I in Falkirk, and we got the buses. I got the Dunfermline bus, Billy got the Stirling bus, and we met there to go back way after getting a couple of days off or something like that, you know. Waiting a couple of days to come all the way up. There was no motorways in those days.
No, totally different, eh? What was your first impressions when you went down to Leeds? Obviously, it's a bit different from Valleyfield.
Well, I couldn't understand anybody, and they couldn't understand me. As Joyce will tell you, you know. So it was a bit strange. So I was more or less in a shell. You kept to yourself, you know. And you had all these young guys in the dressing room. They were, some of them, a bit loud and all that, you know. You were no part of it then, but gradually when they seen you playing, they come round.
Yeah, how big a club were Leeds at that point?
They were in the second division at that time. They weren't doing that well, but it was just marking time to Don Remy took over as manager then, and from then on they just went from strength to strength. You know.
You mentioned Billy Bremner earlier, obviously a legend in Scottish football. What was he like?
He was just like anybody else, Billy. You know, at that time he was an outside right, and when he was staying, I was staying in digs in Leeds, and so was Billy, but not in the same digs. But then he went into digs with Revy.
Right.
Revy was a player then, so he got all the help in the world when Revy took over as manager. Of
course, yeah.
And they pushed him, but by Jove, it was worth it because he went in the middle of the party and he was just a terrier, wasn't he?
Done all right, didn't he?
He had all the football, but he could handle himself.
Yeah, I'm right in saying Jack Charlton was there as well. round
Jack
about that
Charlton
point.
was there too. Aye. And Jack was a big figure then, you know, and they signed this boy for Falkirk, John McCall. I always remember this. John McCall. And John McCall was 6'2", 6'3", something like that, right? Hard centre forward. In those days were big boys, and, you know. And he was playing in the reserves at the time against the first team in a match. And I think John McCall was running, Charlton had cut across him, took the ball up him, and McCall cracked his legs, and Charlton turned round and booted him. McCall just dumped him, put his head in the game of Glasgow kiss. And he went down, and the manager was on the touchline saying, now boys, now boys. He was a bowler hat kind of manager at that time, you know. Now boys, now. But Big Charlton, he always said he was going to kick this one. He didn't get back up, I tell you that. He was blowing snotters everywhere.
And you wouldn't mess with Charlton as well. He was a hardy player, wasn't he?
Aye, but he made his match with McCall, I tell you that.
Brilliant. Well, your first season down there, your top goal scorer in the reserves with 22 goals. So you must have settled in.
It was reserves and third team. They had 4 teams then.
Right.
It was reserves and third team mainly. But what happened then was, that was when the players in England voted to come out and strike to get the maximum wage abolished. And that's what happened then was, when that came into being, they all pruned their staffs.
Right.
So at Leeds United, I think there was about 10 years, young guys had all been told they were getting freed, you know, and there were some good players among them.
Yeah.
It just they needed the money to pay the big boys then, because they were all wanting more money then, you see.
Did you ever wonder what if you hadn't have been released, what might have happened down south?
I think so, I think so. You obviously see the way Leeds went on to big things, and probably in the end I was probably not fast enough to make it down there, but at the time you weren't thinking about anything like that, and the game wasn't as fast as it is now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So.
And during your time at Leeds, you meet the good lady beside you. So
lady,
tell us a little bit how all that happened.
Well, me and the boy I was in digs with, we were 2 years in this digs, boy Jeff Martin from Chesterfield, right? And we were at the dancing, went to the dancing in the Leeds, what's the name of the hall? Queen's Hall?
Majestic.
The Majestic. And she caught hold of me.
Love at first sight.
No.
I couldn't actually understand what he said. And I think he said, would you like to go for a drink? Or do you want to dance? And then he couldn't dance.
We didn't go for a drink,
Two left. No, it was just orange juice.
The coffee, was it?
Yeah, coffee. And then
That was it.
just it. Mm-hmm. But to tell you a wee story, I took him home.
Mm-hmm.
And a few days later, my mum's talking to a next door neighbour, and she said, he seems a nice lad, but we can't tell a word he says, and he can't tell a word we said. But our Joyce was always good at foreign languages.
Just studied foreign languages.
Genuine, that's what she said.
So that was it.
Superb.
I come back up the road and she followed me then.
That's it. An adopted Fifer now.
Oh yeah.
Well, she's been up here longer than you.
Yeah.
60 years ago now.
Crazy,
60
yeah.
years since we got married, and I think I'd just left school when I met you, hadn't I? I'd left school in the July or something, and I met him in the August.
That's it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It was good, I enjoyed my time there now. I wish it had been different, but
Yeah. It turned out alright though, didn't
turned
it?
out alright, aye. Well, what happened then was we went on holiday to Skegness, Butlins, and I got a telegram there for Jokes Teen, was it? Saying not to sign anything, don't do anything to speak to me, sort of thing. So he'd come after me when he knew I was freed.
It just shows you though, he was obviously monitoring the situation. He was on the pulse of that, as soon as you got released.
Well, he would have been told that I went to the Leeds, and he probably cheered or something like that.
And that was just after the Pars had won the Scottish Cup in '61, wasn't it?
I believe they won the cup in April April 61.
Yep.
And that's right.
You signed July
I signed
61.
in July 61, that's right.
Aye. So what was that like, coming back up the road and signing for Dunfermline?
Well,
You had just won the cup, obviously.
well, it was a good time to be with them, you know, but it was an elderly team that, you know, and some of them had been great servants to the club, you know, and there was a good bunch of boys there, and there was always a good atmosphere at Dunfermline. I was always conscious of that. It was a good atmosphere. And that went right through the 60s. In fact, I would say that was part of the biggest success they had, was good players, obviously, but you have to get on too.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Man U.
Oh, they're a bit
Players,
struggling now, aren't they?
So that was it then.
So when you initially got there, who was it that helped you settle in pretty quickly? Who were you close to in the dressing room?
At that time, what happened then was they seemed to get a lot of local boys signing. You know, there was Ali Carers, Paddy Wilson at different times, and all the different boys.
Galligans.
Jim Fraser, two Calligans, John Lunn, Jimmy Thompson,
Jackie Sinclair.
Jackie Sinclair, and so they were all local boys, so it was a good time.
That was something Steen was really strong on, though, wasn't it? He wanted to bring the young local boys through.
He did. He was a big. We used to call him the Fox. You know, he knew everything that was going on, and at that time, big joke. But he certainly pushed the young boys in. You know, two of them got a game. In those days, he very seldom went straight into the first team. You had to serve like an apprenticeship. You know, a couple of years on that before you were getting established. But Duke always gave them a chance.
Aye, it worked out all right, didn't it?
It worked out all right, yeah.
Aye. When I was doing my research, your first experience of European football was not long after that. You travelled to Uzbekistan, but you didn't play.
I didn't play.
So what was that like going? I'm guessing that would have been the first time you went abroad.
It was, yeah.
Aye. What was that experience like?
It was kind of scary because it was no long after there was an uprising in Hungary.
Right.
So there was soldiers at every corner at that time, you know. So and the thing that sticks in my memory was the dressing room. The dressing room had 11 easy chairs in it.
Right.
One for each player. I've never ever seen that before. And the boys that played, they played well. I think it was 4-3 or something.
Yeah, aye, it was a good game, aye.
Aye. So that was a big game, and then it was a big game when it come back to East End.
Aye. Do you still remember that?
I
The
remember
Uzbekistan game?
some of it, aye. But these were fantastic days then.
Aye.
The European ties were unbelievable. And one of the big benefits we got from them was, obviously we were all right through the 60s, we were going to different places. And every time you went there, you come back with a different story. So when you went to training, you didn't feel the training, you know, you're telling others the story, remember this, remember that. So the harmony it helped great for the harmony of that day, you know.
It's like you said, that camaraderie and togetherness throughout the decade, really, eh?
That's what you need. I mean, you look at some of them now, they've got to have that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you made your debut, March 1962. Do you remember who you played in your debut?
Yeah,
Tell us, go for it.
Dundee.
It was, up at Dens Park.
I scored and all.
You did. So you scored on your debut. What was that feeling like?
And that was the year Dundee won the league.
Aye, it was, aye.
Aye, it was good, but it was Jokestein again. Jokestein, there were 2 or 3 years, maybe more, were free transfer players, and that's what it was. The headline was, you know, Jokestein does it again. They played. He just seemed to get the best out of players, you know. He'd say, well, come on, you're better than what you're showing out there. Going, let me see the real you, and that sort of thing. You know, he's always working up here with you.
Mm-hmm. What was he like, Jokestein? Would you say he was ahead of his time?
Oh, yeah. I mean, him and Wally Waddles went to Italy to study the training methods, because Italian football was big at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And he come back and he says, I'm going to training for you. This will make you a better player than that. You wait and see. So he'd come back. It was all different drills, you know.
But you guys wouldn't be familiar with that. If nobody was doing it here,
No.
it was all new, wasn't it?
I remember a reserve game, I think it was a League Cup, reserve league, and it was all young boys that played, and we went down to Kilmarnock, and it was the semi-finals that we went down and we beat them 3-0 or something like that. And in the papers the next day is Jock Steen, this is the way he worked. Jock Steen had in the papers, I could have sold 2 or 3 more young boys last night. They were that good for big good money from English clubs. And of course you think, well, I wonder if it was one of me. And he were all thinking it's them, you know.
It's clever, eh?
That's the way he worked, you know. He's shrewd, cookie, big joke.
And one of the big games during that time was the Valencia.
Well,
what's your memories of the Valencia ties?
Well, I wasn't playing then, I was in the pool obviously, but it was fantastic. I mean, they come back from 4-0 down, but on that night it was a freezing hard frost on the ground, and Big Joke's instruction to him was get them, they didn't want to play, they would come out in scarves and their hats and tights and gloves, and Big Joke's instruction was to get them doing that right away.
Again, we just switched on, eh? You could tell that the Valencia players didn't fancy it, so
they didn't
communicate that to your players.
They didn't want to know. Big Joke just went boom, boom, boom.
Amazing. Amazing. By 1964, he leaves to go to Hibs.
That's right.
What do you think would have happened if he'd stayed at Dunfermline?
I'd probably be no longer there, because when Willie Cunningham retired, Jock's team made him manager of the reserves.
Right.
No manager, but coach of the reserves. Yeah. And his first game was, we were playing, I was in the reserves with Willie Callaghan and all the younger ones. And he said after the game, he accused me of no trying. And he accused Willie Callaghan of no trying, you see. And of course I tell him to where to go. I'm not like that at all. I've had bad games. There's a big difference between a bad game and no trying. Yeah. And anyway, he resigned that night. That's when the first team went away from him and the reserves played at him. And when Jock's team now come back, he resigned. Well, they couldn't him. And what happens then? Big Jock shouts, you in my office. And what's going on with this? And he says, well, he accused me and I was trying. I said, I was in a bad timing. And we was saying the same, you know. And he said, you know that man resigned last night? I said, oh, well, that's his problem. But what happens then? Jock goes to Hibs, Wally Cunningham gets a job. Yeah. And who doesn't get a game? Bert.
So did you struggle in the early point of Cunningham's tenure then?
Probably
just not getting a game?
No, I didn't get a game, and I tell you what happened. I played in the reserves and I started scoring every week, and the first team hit a bad run. And he had to bring me back. And after he had brought me back, he couldn't do enough for me then. You know, I was the number one bloody player after that. You know, and I could have been out the door because I'd done for a transfer at that time, didn't I? I'm sure.
Right, so in your mind you were ready to go, you thought, they're not going to play me, so...
He was going to play me, you see. He held that against me, but then he got over that, and then he couldn't do enough. And the bonus is £20 a day, and not forgetting Bertie this time when I'm out injured, and not forgetting Bertie who's giving me the bonus and everything. You know?
Even though you weren't playing?
Aye.
And you were injured for the 65 Cup final, weren't you? You missed out on that one.
Yeah. I was playing a reserve game and it was a hard frost, and I felt my knee going. I felt something, I slipped on the ice or whatever it is, and I felt something happen in my knee, and it looked like that, you know. And wee Edwards, Alec took me, he drove me up to Bridgend the next morning. I had to look in there, that's where the hospital was, you know, Bridgend. And we had to get the cartilage out.
And how long were you out for, can you remember?
Oh no.
Because injuries in those days, it's not like now where they get treatment straight away and they're back quick.
Different now.
Totally different, eh?
Different. Was it a first team game it looked?
It was it not a cup game against East Stirling?
It was a cup game against, you're right, it was a cup game. But when it went, it was a reserve game. And this was later on, playing against, it was a cup game.
East Stirling or something like that.
And it looked on the field, right? I said, and then they took me off. The subs in those days, And I just remember on the table, and they're trying to get his legs straight, and they give me a cortisone injection, which I didn't know.
Yeah.
And they straightened my leg, Andy Stevenson and the doctor, and they were not pleased at that. But when doing that, they tore the cartilage in half.
And then they put a bandage on and sent him back out to play the second half.
In those days, that's what you done.
Yeah, just get on with it type mentality.
The specialist in Brazil says, "Who done that to you?" I told him, he says, "We'll never let him touch you again."
And that's the club physio
That was a
trainer at the time.
Well, it was a guy, it was just Joke Steen and Jimmy Stevenson.
Yeah.
At that time, it was Wally Cunningham and Jimmy Stevenson.
Yeah.
And that's, they had to do everything. You know, it was, look at it now, they've all got their own bloody physios. And
It's totally different, eh?
oh, jeez.
We'll come to your other injuries later on, but a player who was in the squad at that time who went on to do okay in life was Alex Ferguson.
Oh, Fergie.
So what's your memories of Fergie as a player? His goal scoring record was phenomenal, wasn't it?
Fergie, there's only once Fergie scored an awful lot of goals. We had a hell of a run then, and the team then were beating everybody. We scored an awful lot of goals, and Fergie was getting a lot. And what I can remember is Fergie's goals. He only once scored with a goal from outside the box, 80-yard box. It was all poachers and headers, and great header of ball. And poaching, come back off the goalie or anticipating a shot. And out and out poacher, that was his strength. But he was a bit of a lad, he was feared in nothing, he was feared in no man. You know, and very, very driven, you know.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see, his latter years.
Aye, well that season you're talking about, 65-66, and the club scored 131 goals that season. You got 25 and Fergie got 39.
Really?
Which, if you think of that nowadays, you'd be away down to England and all big money and.
But that forward line then was one of the best players was Jim Fleming.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Fleming was centre forward, and Jim would drift to this side and that side, and then leave holes for us to come through it, you know. Then we had us a chip in with Paddy Wilson, Hugh Robertson, great players then.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
It was a great team, eh? And then after Cunningham decides to go, George Farm comes in. So what was your impressions of George Farm in the early days when he first come in?
Well, he had done all right at Rafe Roberts when he come for you.
Aye, Rafe, yeah.
Aye. But he just let us get on with it, you know, at that time, you know. I remember one game where we were playing as a system, and then they come in at half time, we were nothing doing this. He just used to say, "Well, what is you going to do then?" He didn't say, "You're bloody murder" or anything like that.
Yeah.
He wasn't very clever coach-wise.
Yeah.
He didn't do much at all.
Was he a good man manager, would you say? Because quite a few guys say he was quite an aloof character.
He was very abrupt with people, and
Right.
swearing in front of women and everything.
Right.
Like you though.
Oh, he was another one, he loved me.
Aye.
I did.
Because he got on with certain players, but not others, didn't he?
No, that's right. I remember Roy Barrett was wanting away at this time, you know. Roy was jamming his doors more than anything happened, you see. And this day, Farm's in his wee office and he tapped the door. And he went to open the door and he hid behind him. And he went, boo! He said it was really calling. He said, "Oh Christ, I thought it was happening." Barry again.
Superb. The thing is, when George Farm was there, the dressing room ran itself, didn't it? There was so many leaders and characters.
He inherited that team, didn't
Aye.
he, George? You know, fantastic time that, scoring all the goals. In fact, I've seen a wee bit in one of the magazines about how many goals I got in so many games. You know, just a wee bit. I never realised that at the time. I scored so many goals, and so, not the total.
I think that was that season, was it not 65-66 in the magazine? Aye.
Aye, 65-66 was a...
See, during that time as a player, did you have opportunities to leave Dunfermline? Was other clubs interested in you?
Not really.
No.
Not really. I mean, Dunfermline was a big team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were one of the bigger teams. They should have won the league in 65.
Yeah, We're so close, weren't we? Did it go down to the last game maybe, or the last 2 games?
I always remember that coming up to the end of the season, we says we're waiting on putting an extra money on, as players do, and they kept going on and on. But they never ever changed it. It just left the bonus as it was. I mean, if they'd agreed that we would lift at the end, I think. I mean, we would have got more than 1 point, I think. So it was a big disappointment. But then, we're never out of the top 4 for I don't know how long.
3 or 4 years, I think, after that, aye.
There's some good players then, though. There's some good players.
I was just looking at that heading towards the 68 Cup final, and the players that the team picked itself, didn't it?
Aye.
It was such a good team.
It was some good players. You look at them now: Jim Fraser, John Lunn, Wally Callaghan, Roy Barry. We Alec Edwards, Hugh Robertson, Mark Gardner come in. We Ian Lister.
And that's basically the 68 team. So
Tid was there and all.
Tid Callaghan, aye. So then 68, you get to play in a Scottish Cup final against Hearts. What's your memories of the cup run initially and then the game?
The cup run, I can't remember the sequence of them, but I knew that we were favourites, no favourites, but with Celtic and Rangers, once they're out of the way, Hearts beat Rangers and we beat Celtic, so we were very, very confident from then on that it was ours. And you just get that feeling, you know these are doing well, you've got a good team. You just knew, when it got to the final itself, we knew Hertz would come out and kick us. They had the 3 big centre halves right across the middle of the park, and they just started to kick us, and Jim Townsend, who was a good player, he was just going stupid. I mean, he fell away against me, he just let me go past him with me, and we scored after that goal, and then Crookie hammered down, but we had big Jordy Miller was against us, and there were 2 Andersons, I think it was, and they were big guys, and they just physical, and we were just too good for them.
It was quite a comfortable final for Dunfermline, wasn't it?
We scored all the goals. John scored a non game. John. He was another good player, John. We were at fullbacks.
And we lost John Lunn. He was just young, wasn't he? He was 31, I think.
Terrible time he had.
And he passed away, aye.
Terrible.
What's your memories of John? They call him Happy, didn't they?
Happy or the Reverend. Because he used to bounce when he walked.
Right.
He was up his toes, the Reverend, or he was always more than happy. But he would keep everybody going. He was a born comic,
Aye. I'd heard a story that Bill Shankly tried to take him to Liverpool.
There was a lot of stories about him at that time. He was a good player. We Wally Henderson and them, they wouldn't like playing against him with Jackie Johnson. Because they beat John, but John's back at them,
Right.
He was quite quick. Kilton Hall boy.
He was quite a hard player, John.
Oh, aye.
Was he?
Aye, he could put it in. Not
Superb.
a dirty player, but...
Yeah. Play fair.
Aye.
So then go back to the cup final, the whistle goes, we've won the cup.
I know.
And then...
Where did I go? I went into the dressing room to get my 2 front teeth.
Oh, did you?
Aye. And then they wouldn't let us back out.
Aye, what's your memories of all the nonsense with obviously denying us parading the cup?
I didn't until I got my teeth. I had to get my 2 front teeth to come back out, and then Roy shouting at this big inspector coming around, and they wouldn't let us out because the year before, Rangers and Celtic in the League Cup final or something, that was when there was a riot, the horses and that would come on. Mm-hmm. And it was because of that they wouldn't let, they banned it.
Ridiculous,
eh? Dunfermline Hearts, 58,000 or something. I said, what trouble are they going to do?
The Hearts fans would be out the stadium the time we come out anyway.
They probably were, yeah.
It's nonsense. But then, the good thing, you come back to Dunfermline High Street on the open top bus. What's your memories of being on the bus?
I've not got very many to be honest. I've not gone to the City Chambers, is it? Eh?
Aye, right down the High Street to the City Chambers, aye. And then I'm right in saying after that the club didn't organise anything, eh?
Nothing organised. That was crazy because we got our fish and chips at Halloween, didn't we?
Yeah, on the way home to
I stayed in Kirkcaldy.
Right. That must have been quite strange going home to a quiet house and you've just experienced all that.
You're on a high anyway, so it was silly.
Aye.
But how they never did that, I don't know. You imagine them nowadays, would be celebrating for weeks.
Of course. But do you think just back then they just took it for granted because we were so good and we were in Europe all the time?
I
And
don't know what it was.
it's a bit strange, eh?
It was a missed opportunity,
Aye.
really.
Still though, won the cup. And then that summer we had a trip to America. Do you remember much about going to America?
Aye. It was supposed to be 6 weeks, I think it was supposed to be for.
Right.
Like that. And this is George Farm was the manager then, you see. And we were down to play Manchester City 4 times to promote football in America.
Mm-hmm.
We must have set it back years because there were 4 draws, nothing, 1 month or something. So we must have set football back. But there were a lot of games you were playing in a baseball match, a square or triangle. Or
Aye.
you know.
Strange experience, eh?
Aye, it was good though, it was good, great trip. I always remember we were playing the Greek Americans in New York, and when the ball went above that height, it was a dog track day.
Right.
They had the lights for the dog track, that was the lights. And of course, when the ball went up, everybody stopped and it comes again. The boys never coming back, didn't it? It was disappearing. Anyway, they beat us 2-0. And we got back to the Central America, and George Farms bus draws up at our hotel. Farm comes up and says, right, says, you're getting an hour to get a drink and to get something to eat and then get in your effing beds, you see. And of course he goes off the bus and he storms away off the bus. Roy Barry stops us all. Wait a minute. Says, hands up who's no one to come in tonight. You see? And because we Andy Stevens had to get us sit at the front door to get us up for the hour because we all stayed out. And then what happens the next day, the directors were on the trip as well. They called a meeting, you see, and they had probably got a sniffy of things weren't going right. And they called a meeting and says, he wasn't there, Farm wasn't there, it was just players.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and they says, oh, come on, what's going wrong? Why is it like this? What's happening at the club? And is it the manager? This was real Jack says, is it the manager? You want us to sack them? Wee Mickey stood up and says, I sack the bee. Just like that, I sack the bee. Jack says, Alex, you sit down. Wee Mickey, oh boy, it was. So that was the start of it then, you know, I don't know, what year was that?
That was 68.
Well, that's when Roy Barry then was unsettled. Wee Mickey was unsettled. And then 69, bad year.
Aye, but just before that, the European football continues. So talking about European days with Dunfermline, you went on many trips. What games stand out for you?
Well, we were looking at the mugs the other day, weren't we? Have you seen the mugs?
Nah, never seen them, no.
I'll show you them later when
Right.
you're finished. Yeah.
The ones, I remember Saragossa, I was in a nightmare, and I mean a nightmare. And it says, go now you the wing bear, I stay out there. So I'm out there, and I'm not wanting the ball. And then it's 1-0, and I think Jordy missed a penalty that day, was it? It maybe was a man, and it's nothing. 2 minutes to go or something, we got a corner kick. And they said, get away the road, we make it to take you the corner kick. So I went away to hide in the middle. And they got almost, and the ball come over, went boom, in the back of the net. The headlines, Paton's a hero, Paton. They seemed to have something to be that early. So I remember that one, I remember scoring against Paton. I also remember Alex Smith. I was still there then for that game, must have been. And Fergie going to fight in the away leg against Partick Burnell because Fergie wouldn't pass the ball, he was right greedy, he was right. And I like we did on Muthfair, the two of them started squaring up to one. I'm stepping up to the fuck, I'm going to get sent up between. So that was Partick Burnell, I think that was. I can't remember much. I remember the French game, they were bloody
Is that
crazy.
Bordeaux?
Aye.
Aye.
What happened then was one of the goals I had gone the same time as the boy and scored, and the boy studs had went through my singular and it kind of went poisonous then. So I wasn't bothered about it. It wasn't known that it was poisonous at that time. I went to play Rovers, the race Rovers, and somebody said to me, no. He says, oh, you'll get that sorted. And I went over to play in Bordeaux, there's a turn game. And somebody says, look at your boots, Bert, look at your boot. It was covered in blood.
Right.
This was poisoning, this injury I got. So they treated it in the airport. They treated it when I come back to East End. They says, right, jump up on the table. And this was before I went to Kirkcaldy. And I'm up on the table and looking at that, you better go down to the hospital tomorrow. And he gave me a jag, this is Doc Hurley's. And he says, right, I said, away you go, we'll go down to the hospital tomorrow, we'll get you checked in. And I came off the table and bloody collapsed. I was out. I'm allergic to penicillin.
Ah, right. And you didn't know?
And that comes around, he flat my face, he says, oh, thank God for that. He says, I thought I'd lost you. This is a bloody doctor. For Christ's sake, no, I go down to the hospital and they wouldn't let me out for a week.
Fortnight.
Scary.
Fortnight, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Scary, aye.
Well, the poison goes to the bone, it's serious.
Again, nowadays that just would never happen with the medical treatment you would get at a football club, eh?
Not at all, no. There's a big difference nowadays.
We are Flow Digital Pharmacy, and we are proud to sponsor the Walking Down the Holbeath Road podcast. Our easy-to-use app is a convenient way to access your NHS prescription medication, and our team of trained pharmacists are helping thousands of people to access the support and medication they need. If you're registered with a GP who's based in England, you can use the Flow app to securely and conveniently send them NHS medication requests and arrange delivery to a location of your choice at a time that suits you. This means you can avoid the hassle of contacting your GP and making unnecessary round trips to eventually collect your prescription. Find out more at weareflow, spelled PHLO, that's weareflow.com.
It's the same when I broke my leg, and it was coming back with that was nothing but a nightmare. From then on, really that really finished me, because anything I tried after that was half of what I should have been, you know. And I'm struggling to get back. Roy Barry's broke his leg, but he's coming to me now. He's telling me there are two guys with him all day at Coventry that was named with me. In fact, I'll show you photos of me lifting weights onto Jimmy Brown, who was in plaster at the same time as me. In the gym, that was us looking after us. The rest of the way training.
So you were just left?
We were just left.
No rehab as such?
I'm struggling to get back.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I'm getting a lot of pain. Bert, you've got to get over this. It's all psychological way, you see. So I'm running up and down the terrace, and it was at that time, and kicking a ball against the post and doing all things to try and get going again. I was getting a lot of pain. I said, I want to see I kept on him. I said, I want to see the specialist. And I went down to the hospital to see him, I can't remember, Campbell, I think it was his name. Patterson. And I went up the table, he put his hand on the brake and he says, oh, just as we thought, Bert, it's no mending. We'll have to give you a bone graft. So then that's another, I don't know how many weeks in plaster, 24.
You're about 26, 27 at this
27.
point? Aye.
They took bone from there and made a banana skin. It's like a banana skin round the bake, right? And then when I come back, I was playing a reserve game, and I can remember that one of the young boys gave me a bad bone. I tried to retrieve it, and it broke an inch below the bone graft. And they were bloody pleased that I said no spot because the graft had held, you see. But I said, Christ, they were quite happy with it. But it wasn't the same, you know. It was
Going by the research, you broke it the first time December 69 against Dundee United.
That's right.
And then you broke it again at Easter Road, November 71.
Was that when it was?
By this point, you'd made 221 appearances for the club and 88 goals. And 7 of which were in Europe. You're the record goal scorer, aren't you, for the club in Europe?
I was trying a long time on it.
I think you're safe there, yeah.
It's been longer than me. You know.
Is there any goals that stand out for you?
The European ones.
Just any goals at all?
Any goals.
What about the one at Ibrox?
Aye.
I think you mentioned that at the captain's brunch, didn't you?
Aye. No, at least mentioned
Aye, Leash mentioned it, aye. We'd beat them at Ibrox, didn't we?
Oh, we
You'd
beat them
scored.
two years in a row.
Aye.
It's only played them twice in these days. You know, and we beat them 2 years in a row at Ibrox. I remember the goal there. It was just one of these ones that you just hit and it flies in the top corner.
We've actually, one of the supporters who's asked a question, Donald Adamson, he's...
Donald, I'm going to tell you what he's talking about.
Go on then.
He's the only man that ever brings it up. He's the only man that remembers it, and that was probably one of the best goals I've ever scored.
Do you remember what game it was?
Yes.
Go for it.
Aye. 6-0.
Aye, Wraith Rovers 6-0. On the 1st of January 68.
That's right.
So you still remember that goal?
Yes.
Beating 5 players and then putting it into the side of the net.
Aye. And the goalkeeper was one of them, and he got up and applauded it.
Superb.
Aye.
Brilliant.
Well,
Wouldn't have mind beating Wraith Rovers 6-0 these days, but
I know. Well,
it's a bit tricky.
Well, we Sue Robertson scored the other 3.
So was it 2 hat-tricks?
Aye. He was
Amazing.
a great player too. He made a lot of openings for us, you know.
Who else? You've mentioned obviously a few names during your time at Dunfermline. Who else were key players that maybe don't get the credit that they deserve?
Well, there was always players like that. I think I was a bit like that myself, I think, at times. But it's that type of player that, you know, players appreciate, but and fans didn't see the same. They've all got their favourites, you know what it's like.
But you're obviously training with these guys day in, day out, so you're seeing what they can do, aren't you?
They're good players. They're all good in their positions, as you said earlier about that team. Picked itself. It did, and they have good times, they pick itself. You know, it must be hard being a sub in those days because you don't get on the park.
And wrapping up, just before we wrap up on your time as a player at Dunfermline, one of the European games I wanted to ask you was the Slovan Bratislava. And the club were so close to getting to a final, weren't they?
Yeah.
What's your memories of
They were
that?
a good team. They were international players, weren't they? They were a very good team. My recollection is a hard game at East End, but going over there, we were playing first half. We were playing, and they said this guy, one of their inside men, Joko, I think it was Joko was his name. He was kicking everybody it moved, dirty so and so, you know. He was getting away with murder, and just as we come out of the second half, we had got the ball to centre it. Paddy centre it, I turned round, plays it back there, and out the corner of my eye, I'd seen this guy, Joko's coming today, you know. So I just turned round and went, and he was just running past. And all I heard was, oh, and by that time it stopped, I was a wee up there, and everybody's looking at me, what happened? I thought it was coming to me. So being a valley boy,
That's it. But Slovan, did they not go on to beat Barcelona in the final that year, didn't they?
I'm not
I
sure.
think they won the trophy.
Did they?
I think they won the Cup
They were a
Winners'
good
Cup.
team though, they were fully international players.
Because Roy mentions that's probably his biggest regret. At his time at Dunfermline, he felt the club were capable of getting to the final and winning it.
They were a good team at that time, aye.
And then you're about to leave Dunfermline. Any other games that stand out for you during your spell at the club as a player?
Quite a few, really. Obviously, the ones where you score was a wee bit sweeter. Not Kilmarnock half the top of the league at that year at East End. Scored a good goal then.
I think that was the game. Was there 19,000? I think at that game. The Kilmarnock one.
No, I think that was the cup time.
Was that a cup game?
Well, that was another goal.
Aye, we beat them in that game, didn't we?
Then Jackie McGrory and Frank Beattie double centre halves, big. You see, and there was me and Fergie, and we used to have some battle with they two all the time. You see, so anyway, the ball comes swinging in. This is a cup. No. They scored first. Jackie McInally broke away and scored. We're doing 1-0 doing. So the ball comes in the box like that, and Frank Beattie's tight with me all the time. So he's on my back like that, you see. So I got my arm like that and took him with me. And as the ball went round the hook in the top corner, they went after him, so after me all the game then. In fact, if I remember right, he got me in the end for an ankle injury. Frank Beattie, we had a good laugh with him too at the same time. But it was give and take with eight guys. And I remember that one, that was the cup. We had to score the second goal.
Aye, right. Was it not at the death of the game? It was like the last minute maybe?
No,
was it not?
It was as long as that, but he definitely got the second goal.
Aye.
I remember that.
Who did you enjoy playing against?
Well, I always seemed to score against the Rovers, Hearts, Aberdeen. I think I scored a goal against every team in the Premier League at that time. Aye.
And who was your toughest opponent?
The toughest opponent was a guy that played for Hibs. He was a Scandinavian and he was a centre half, and he'd followed me all over the place. He followed me all over the place. And I used to talk to the Hibs boys and later chance of speaking to one of them. He said, you know this, Bert, you're the only guy I can play against. He said, it's funny hopeless, but he just kept coming with me and he stopped me playing all the time. I can remember he had a blondie in his crew cut.
Aye.
It was a Scandinavian Denmark and one of them.
You couldn't shake him off?
Playing for Hibs. I could not. He just stuck to me like glue.
What was your favourite ground to play at?
Oh, East End.
East End, aye.
Aye.
What's your memories of the old East End with the stairs, the dressing rooms in the main stand?
I remember that game we played against Celtic, that game where they were, I think it was that one, where they were up the Tiger pole and all that.
Aye, it was, just after the cup win.
Well, when Jokestein was at Dunfermline, Jokestein would never let the Dunfermline out until the away team went out, because psychologically, when they come out and then we come out, our supporters, you see, so psychologically, that's when Big Joke. So, when Big Joke landed back at Parkhead, it was, I can't remember who the referee was. It's them first, Mr. Referee. And the referee went in Joke and he said, no, it's them first. And that's the first time the two of them come down the stairs together.
Right.
They had to come out at the same time.
Aye.
Aye. Big Joke, Big Willie had sussed this, we all knew that day. And they said, no, we're not going to, well, they're not going to, and the ref was beginning to panic.
Aye, that game you're talking about though, with the fans on the floodlights and on the roofs, that must have been really scary seeing that.
It was hard. I always remember that because either Celtic scored or we scored, and they all come on the park again, you see. So Paddy and I start in the centre circle waiting to start the game, and they're all over the place. And here this wee bloody woman comes out with a kid on each hand. She had the trousers on with a duck in the wellies and a coat. And she said, where's Jimmy Johnson? Paddy says, get off the effing park. She said, right. And she went waiting for Jimmy Johnson with these two kids.
Crazy, eh?
Crazy, and coming down to the end of the bloody enclosure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the ones that climb down.
Aye.
Jesus, that could have come through any time, eh? That's when I decided to stop it.
Aye. Because there's pictures of George Farm and Jokestein on the pitch telling fans to come down, eh?
Killed, I think, didn't they?
Somebody
fell off the pylon or the roof or
He was
something.
climbing in at the Five Motor Company and they fell back on concrete or something.
No health and safety back then, was there?
But they're crazy then, they're crazy, you know.
Mad. So you leave Dunfermline in 1972 and you have a short spell at Berwick Rangers. Harry Melrose took you down to Berwick.
Aye, Harry.
So what was that wee experience like?
Oh, that was just a nightmare for me, really.
You only played 5 games.
Aye, that was enough.
Aye.
I'll tell you why I played only 5 games. I was playing away one of the games, maybe the 5th game you're talking about, and they had this right back playing for Bert, and we used to laugh about him because he was bloody hopeless, you know, he couldn't kick snow off his boots and that. And anyway, I was playing away and I hear this guy shouting at me. I'm saying, and honestly, it was like a bolt from above coming down. He says, Bert, if he's shouting at you, you must be pretty bad. And that was it. I went out, that's it, the last game I played.
Was it quite an easy decision? You just knew.
It was.
I'm
This
done.
boy was shouting at me. It was a
Aye,
decision. It was like a bolt in the blue. I can get it clear. Aye, that was the last recollection of playing.
And you were 27 at this point, weren't you?
27.
So what was that like from one day being a footballer to then not being a footballer? So you'd known.
I don't know. Well, aye. It wasn't a nice time.
At that point, did you want to go into coaching? Were you thinking about staying in the game?
I had gone down to Largs with a ball on a string, trying to get this leg going.
Mm-hmm.
So I was for going through the coaching courses. I went through that. I got some certificate, but I didn't complete them because the circumstances, you know. But to finish up, it was, I don't know what we done then, did we buy a shop?
Yeah.
I bought a shop.
According to my research, you were a car salesman at one point and a grocer
right,
before you opened the pub in Rosyth, eh?
That
It was a shop first.
next
Right.
door to the East End, it was that garage next door. It was Laidlaw's then.
Right.
And he didn't want me to leave, but we had bought this shop.
But you worked with Mother's Pride before that.
Oh, I'm a
Till
pal.
4
got me
o'clock in the morning.
Driving the lorries.
Right.
breed deliveries. That was my pal for Kirkcaldy. Peter Rogers got me into there. And that was it. When I went for an interview, I had a caliper on my leg, you see, and the boys on about this caliper, and I was getting annoyed at him because I said, don't you worry about that. I said, I'll get rid of that in so many weeks. And anyway, Pete must have had a bit of influence and he got me the job. But I was saying, your caliper, what they're doing.
Did you have issues with your injuries for a long time after football?
Oh, if you
It
get
has now.
Still now?
aye.
Going back to football, so you start, George Farm takes you to Raith Rovers, doesn't he? 74.
Aye,
How did that come about?
I think I went to Rosyth first, didn't I?
No.
No, that was before Dunfermline, I think. That was before Dunfermline came. Aye, I was to Legally Albert, that's where
Right.
I was. Won their driver a cup to, and George Farm came and asked me to go back to him to coach. And so I went, and things weren't going that well. And I think we come in for me Cowdenbeath to be the manager. So I left and went to Cowdenbeath. And I took my assistant with me, it was Bill McTavish. And we had a great, I think it was 6 weeks I was at Cowdenbeath. I think it was unbeaten. And anyway, the Rovers come sack Farm. I said to Bill McTavish, I'll give Farm George a fortnight to last. He didn't last a fortnight. They got him out the door and they come back for me. And that was the worst move I made in football because it just didn't happen, you know. And then the end they said, this is the Rovers, or now the Rovers with my assistant. And they said to me, we played against Fergie. Fergie was with St Mirren at that time. And they were beating everybody, but they just got through against us. And then anyway, they said that we hate to sack your second in command, Bert, we're economising and all that. I said, no. I said, he's mine. I said, get somebody else, you use somebody else. And they hummed and hawed. This was at a board meeting. I said, if you don't sack that man, reinstate my manager. But in between, this is a funny one, because in between, I had dropped the star man in this game, this Saturday. And the sun shined out his backside for the chairman and all that, you see. So anyway, I dropped him. And I had a problem doing it, you know, so I was friendly with Eddie Turnbull. So I phoned Eddie and says, what would you do, Eddie? He said, if you think it's right, Bert, do it. So I done it, I dropped him. And I brought in a young boy, right? And so when we were coming away from the game, I gave my second in command his wages, and then it was his P45 or P40, whatever it was then. And I told him about the board meeting, like about him wanting him out. And I said, oh, give me that, I'll sort that. And I went in the board meeting on Monday. I said, you reinstate that man now, and I'm out that door. And they hummed and hawed. I said, right, I'm off. I said, no, one thing, you will never have a creamy here as long as you interfere. I went out the door.
That was it.
That was it. That was that. When we had a shop then, we had a shop then, aye.
Right.
Aye. So I went and was working with the shop, and then we turned that into a pub. And then Alec Paton come for me, eh?
For the Paton.
But in between, I'd been with the Hearts for some.
You had a few years at Hearts, didn't you, as a
Aye.
coach?
That was a good pal of mine, John Haggart. He was there. I was there with a coach with him and with Johnny Hamilton.
What were you like in the early days as a coach and manager?
Not very good, I don't think.
Were you kind of just learning as you were going, or did you take inspiration from previous coaches you had worked with?
Yeah, you do, aye.
Because at that point, were you obviously your own man, or were you just
try.
copying other people, or
No, you
How do
try
you
to
approach
create
it?
what the good things that you went through. You try to create them. You always try to create a good team spirit. And we used to, Dick and I would go and, when you talk about management, Dick and I would go and interview anybody we were going to sign and all that. I remember we were signing one big boy up at Dundee, and he says, you couldn't afford me. We were sitting in the car, I said, right Dick, let's go.
That was it?
Aye. He's obviously more interested in money than
aye, know what we want, is it? We'll come back to Dick, but go back to Alex Totten, who you played with at Dunfermline.
I was in we had changed the pub then, eh? By the time Alec Totten had come through.
So, yeah.
So you start off at Dumbarton with Alex, don't you, before going to St Johnstone?
Aye, Alec was a player at Dunfermline too, forgot about him. And so we were very friendly. And he phoned me up, he got the Dumbarton job. I think he had just left Rangers. And he got a man to come through, so I was staying out at Gowcott then. So we went to Dumbarton and we had a great time. I mean, we run Dunfermline really close to getting promotion. But we had gone to a game in the winter, and it was a really cold, nasty night. It was St Johnstone were playing Cowdenbeath, and Jeff Brune and Tierney St Johnstone had seen us at this game and said they two must be really keen if they're out in a night like this. And that's how I got the job. And of course he took me with him. We had a great spell there with Alan Moore.
Aye, who you worked with later on, aye.
Tony Coyle, Gary Thompson, all the boys, great boys. The one you know and the one you don't.
St Johnstone again, really successful time, eh? You get promotions
I
and
had a great time up there. We had a great bunch of boys stay. There was some stories about that.
is it 2 promotions in 3 seasons? I think he's.
It was really a great time. We had some good players stay. And we got into the Premier League and we were doing well there. I mean, we were beating Aberdeen 5-0 at a game. Games like that, you know, great. Big Aggie, who had the fight with Sooners, Big Aggie, the tea lady.
Oh yeah, were you there when that happened? It's quite a famous story, eh?
Aye, Big Aggie, I love Big Aggie, she was great. She used to say, we'd always go back and I would go in for the tea room to Maggie, and she'd always make a cup of tea and biscuit like that. I'm with Dunfermline this time and I go back and they had been having quite a bad time then, St Johnstone, they weren't doing that well, you see. And I said to her, hey Aggie, you've seen a few managers away here, how many is that now? She went like this, looked round to the present manager, says, 12 going on 13. That's what she was like, you know, she was great.
Superb, eh?
Oh,
It's people like that you need behind the scenes in football, eh?
without a doubt. I mean, we Mo.
Aye, exactly, yeah.
We Mo's, he's invaluable there, the players love him.
30 years he's been there now.
And of course, it was me who brought him in.
Aye, exactly, yeah.
And so you need the guys, as you're saying, you need them. You know, they're doing so much work that's unseen behind the scenes and that.
Exactly, yeah.
You watch all the players that's been at Dunfermline, they always come back to see Mo.
They do, aye.
They love
They do.
him. When Mo what would keep them going, we slagged them and everything, you know, tell them the truth. But,
Plenty of banter though, eh?
aye.
And so what did you do after that then? You were involved, I think, at Rosyth for a wee bit, weren't you?
I was involved at Rosyth with Dick.
And then you started working at C.R. Smith, is that right?
I think it was a joke. We were the highest, no, the lowest paid YTS boys in town at that time. Unfortunately, the Dunfermline job come up. I don't know who it was.
Jockey Scott had just been
Jockey, it was Jockey, aye.
sacked, aye.
Aye, they come up and got an interview that way. I said it's time they got somebody that had a bit of feel for the club,
Yeah.
you know.
And I was reading you, the three shortlisted was Murdo McLeod, yourself and Alex Totten for the Dunfermline job, and you got it, aye.
Uh-huh.
So you got one back on your old pal Totten for that one.
Aye.
So that was the 10th of June 1993.
93.
And at the time I was reading in my research, it was a lifelong ambition. You had said a long time before that you wanted to manage Dunfermline one day.
Aye.
And you said, I can promise two things: will not fail through lack of effort, and I only want people to play for Dunfermline who want to play for Dunfermline. So you set your stall out early, didn't you? You mentioned obviously the guy in Dundee for the money situation right away, no interested. So what was it like going to Dunfermline in the early days as a manager? 'Cause the club was in a bit of upheaval, wasn't it?
Aye, the club was, I don't know if that was, it was hard to say, but they made it plain there was no money, like. So I said,
'Cause you had to make a lot of cuts, didn't you?
at that time, I said, I'll just get on with it, I'm not bothered me, I'll get on
Aye.
with it. I'll work with what I've got here.
Aye, one of your former players actually had sent me a message, Derek Lang. Aye, so he had said, do you remember when you and Dick took the boys up to play Forfar and Peterhead in your first pre-season up north? You took the boys up there, and he said, do you remember what happened when you guys said to the boys they could go out the Saturday night and have a few beers?
No.
I think there was a bit of nonsense. And he was saying Norrie had cleaned out the club tab by getting room service. Aye. But what Derek was saying was that first season, obviously there was difficulties at the club, but you guys turned it around pretty quickly. So how did you manage to do that?
Well, we felt everybody was awfully serious when we got in there, you know. There was a doom and gloom about the place. Don't like to say much about the previous manager because he's quite a friend now. And that's what happens in football. Sometimes it goes for you, sometimes it doesn't. It was just mainly that, just get a smile on your face. He says, you know how bloody lucky these are and all this kind of thing, you know.
There's quite a famous quote you said, if you're not happy playing for us, get your overalls on.
I had an overall, and C.R. Smith's overalls, and hang on. Says, if you're not happy, you can bloody get one. I'll get a job up there, and they bother. And then they took us up. And it was McGevo. McGevo had a decision to make about his national service. You know, we hung an army jacket up there and said, was it to me, Ravel? If he didn't sign for a club, he had to go and do his service.
Yeah.
Really, something like that. And anyway, he took the message.
It's like you mentioned Evo there. During your time as manager at Dunfermline, you had a great eye for a player. The club recruited really well, and there's Evo was one of them. What was Evo like for you as a player?
He was a big gangly outside right when I seen him up in Montrose. He was with at that time, and he developed into a very good defender after that, you know. But he was a big character, you know, and he was typical Dutch, which was all right because he took to the boys or took to him. And,
No, he's a popular guy, yeah.
aye, very popular, you know. McGevo. Said to him once, talking, I was getting on to him in a team meeting or half-time meeting, and we had signed the boy for Iceland, I think it was, or Finland.
The big centre half.
Aye, he's a defender.
Aye.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get through to him, and to Reeve, I says, for Christ's sake, Evo, talk to him and let him know. He says, Gaffer, he says, he is from Finland, I'm from Holland. He says, I cannot tell.
I think it was Rissanen, Kai Rissanen or something.
right.
Kari Rissanen.
That was his name.
Aye, that was him. So 93, 94 and 94, 95, we were so close to promotion. 94, 95 got to the playoffs. How frustrating was that? It was 2 seasons we were really close, eh?
Oh, I remember that all the time because McKimmie had been booked and he drew Allen down in the box, Stonewall penalty in the way play on. It was I think it was this doctor that was a referee at that time. Bloody Hope as he was. And that was a big part of them beating us, you know, they went up and scored again. But it was a good time to be, but they kept changing the rules, didn't they?
Aye, they did. Did they not change it 93, 94? You started getting 3 points for a win after that, even though we were the highest scorers in Britain. We had 1 more games than was it Wraith or Falkirk, and we didn't win the league. It was just bizarre.
Aye. Oh, it was frustrating. I mean, it was the next again year and all, they did the same. But what can you do?
I know, just get on with it, eh?
Aye.
During your time, the early days, the media were really critical of Dunfermline, weren't they?
Oh, aye, oh, quite.
Did you and Dick use that as motivation to...
Yeah, all the time. All the time.
Keith Jackson, that was him.
Keith Jackson, aye.
Yeah.
Who's that?
There was one, the reporter that you called out when you beat Dundee United.
Oh, that.
Keith Jackson.
Yeah.
Before that, when we started away, we got beat for the first 4 games.
Aye, you had a tough start, aye.
And that wee shite for Glasgow phoned the chairman and says, would you thinking about replacing your management team with Mr. Leithman? What was his name?
Hugh Keevans.
Hugh Keevans,
He's
yeah.
come through and he's Radio Clyde or something like that. And we went through to do the press in the end, and that guy's walking through, and here he's standing with his rifle going, Jesus. I see you little. Don't you ever come back here when you go that door. And Dick says, that goes for me too. Dick behind me, the big man behind me. We didn't know if this mic was running or not. But I gave him a mystery.
You mentioned Dick Campbell there.
I've never seen him since.
How important was Dick Campbell? How important was Dick Campbell for you?
Dick was brilliant with the players. He still is. I love him, but he used to wind them all up and tell the stories and great with them, great training with them, you know. He was always game for a laugh and he used to slap on the back head, get a smile on your face. And, you know, very good with the players.
Yeah.
And it's showing now how long he's lasted in the game.
He's still doing amazing, isn't he?
Aye.
Season 95-96 I want to cover because that was such an iconic season for the club. Early on there was a lot of pressure on trying to get promotion, and we lost Jackie McNamara to Celtic in October, who was probably our best player at that point, just a young boy. What was that period like, losing Jackie?
I was annoyed at that because they gave him away, you know. I always remember there was 2 young fullbacks in Scotland and Jackie was away ahead of this other one. And this other one went to Bolton, I think it was. Bolton.
That was Macanesby for the Rovers.
He went for 900,000. And they were settling. They gave Jackie away for 600,000, whatever it was, 650,000. And I knew the Bolton scout. And he said, I'm not saying nothing better, it wasn't me that done it. He said it was the manager who come up and seen Macanesby at Parkhead and 900,000 for him. And he couldn't lace Jackie's boots. And they settled because of the position the club were in.
Yeah.
You know, lack of money. That's to me they sold them too cheap.
Aye.
Definitely.
The club was on a shoestring budget at that point. Dick goes on about the smart price cheese and
Holiday bread.
Paul de Mello had it running on a tight budget.
2nd day bread. Toast.
But then that season again, come the January, we lost Big Norrie, which was another massive.
Oh, that was a disaster, that.
Aye, so what's your memories of that period?
The one thing I'll never ever forget is the game back after the funeral, and we had got ourselves together again. I'll remember that game for all the days.
It was a Clyde Bank game, wasn't it?
Nerve-wracking it was, I think. Did we go 3-0 then?
No, we went 3-0 up, and then it went to 3 each. And then we won 4-3. Craig Robertson.
Craig Robertson scored the good. Aye, oh, that was a terrible time, really, because it was as everybody knows, it was a big loss in the dressing room and all round about the town. Really.
Aye.
He was such a good big character, and he was such a vital player for us. You know, to lose him, it was horrible. It was a horrible time. You see the reaction of the fans outside, and the floors and all that.
It pulled everyone together though, didn't it? The whole town got behind the club.
Aye.
At that point, we really went for the promotion.
It was popular. We only had his pubs in the town, you know, and he was very popular. He was a great big guy, and he was a player and a half on the park. I mean, he was never beat, you know. Big inspiration to the rest of them. He's always said, come on, if you don't want to wear the jersey, don't go out here. What was he used to say? You don't want to play for the jersey.
Stay in the dressing room. Aye.
To say that to them. But he was such a big boy too, and he had that presence about him, you know, that big personality have. It wasn't nice. The funeral was horrible, wasn't it?
Aye, it was a tough period, eh?
Oh.
But the players, they stuck together, didn't they? And then
They did. It gave them a cause then to do it for Norrie, you know. So we kind of used that bit. But aye, bad time, eh?
aye.
Anything like that happens at a football club. You've seen what happened.
But then April '96, a game I wanted to talk about, Tannadice. All the media had said
Okay.
the orange ribbons are on that trophy.
Aye.
We were right up against it, weren't we?
Aye, that guy, we seemed to be going to nail that guy. But Dick won the battle. He went in to see him. But they kept telling about the bottle and all that, but we had some big boys in the team, so it was only made sense to give them high ones. We saw them very good in the air. You get big Andy Smith, big Norrie, big Tatty, big Tozy. Christ, you don't hear them more on the ground, they boys. They wouldn't thank you for that. but aye, it was a bit nasty then. All this sticking his either stick for long balls and all that. I wish they would play more than they do.
Aye, we did get a lot of stick for that.
In England and that, for Christ's sake, to pick that way across the back.
Yeah.
There's one forward running between them.
Yeah.
Aye.
So what's your memories of the game at Tannadice? The Stuart Petrie goal?
I remember Stuart's goal early on, aye. I remember that, and we kind of hung on in the end, got through. There was some couple of near things to him, but we were still in. You got sent off then, didn't
You
you?
got sent off, aye.
You got sent off, that's right.
Which it wasn't a sending off when you watch it back.
No, never bloody is, eh? Never is, but all I can remember going on the park at the end, the noise from our fans. We Jim thought he was doing a fly trick by taking the supporters, our supporters, away from behind the goal and putting them up the stand. And it backfired because the noise coming by the stand just drowned out everything. It was fantastic support there.
Oh, amazing day, eh? Amazing day. What?
Tell him about the night.
Oh. We come back, we went to, was it a player dance, was it?
The Ford Arms.
Oh, yeah. Up in Holbeath.
Yeah. Well, I tell it.
No, it was in the north.
It was their player of the year dance, the Ford.
Right.
And he wasn't going to, oh no, we'll go for just an hour because we've got a game. We've not won the league yet.
Yeah.
And at 12 o'clock, him and Dick and Mark Miller are dancing on tables singing We Are the Past. And, oh, brilliant, absolutely brilliant night, wasn't it?
Were you a wee bit drunk that night?
It doesn't take much nowadays. No.
Superb. And then the following week, Airdrie at home, it was always a battle against Airdrie. They had a good team, Airdrie.
Oh, I remember one of the games that Airdrie, Raymond Sharp was there then, and they had wee Nipper
Lawrence.
Lawrence.
Aye. That was Alan Lawrence.
Yeah.
Aye.
I think,
He
aye.
was diving all the place, you see. Anyway, Sharpie had clocked him, and he clocked him twice, I think. Sharpie had done something, and I was carrying him off the stretch, and I was shouting, "There's all wrong with him. There's nothing wrong with him, look at him." And he's lying on the stretcher next to his Bert, says, "Look at his ankle." He had a band, a towel around his ankle, and it's covered blood. And I'm shouting, "There's nothing wrong with him, there's not even wee bee." And we all got carried off. Sharpie was there for, I think. See, some battles with Airdrie. We did it with St Johnstone, too. We were at St Johnstone, it was the same. And we're both going for the leagues, you see.
It was a brilliant league that season, eh? It was so competitive.
No.
There was about 4 or 5 teams in it,
And look at it now.
in the title.
Great memories against them because they were battles and a half. I mean, we played the last game in the stadium, I think, and they were bloody wrecking it round about us before the game finished.
Aye, at the old Broomfield.
Aye. And then they come back here. I remember them, Dick getting sent to the stand at Broadwood when we played them. They always tell you that. They would put them up the stand when they got sent off. And they said there was plies and everything in front of them. They had to take them up, put them up to one of the boxes. To watch the game. That's when Big Westy, we put Big Westy on the outfield the last so many minutes because of the sub. We had some battles with the Beastie Boys.
So what was your memories of the game at 4th of May 96 when we eventually won the title that day? Did you feel a lot of pressure going into that game?
No, not that kind of mind, no. No, obviously it would be, you're a bag of nerves. It wasn't bad. We were almost on top, weren't we?
Aye, and do you remember the goals in that game? We won 2-1.
Andy and Mooney, Andy and Mark.
Mark, aye.
Penalty.
Aye.
That's just big Andy Smith, the dogs that used to go for singing hymns.
I know, turned out a no bad signing, no way.
They says, what the hell are they doing with him? But it worked out well. Big man got the goals.
I was going to mention that, so I said earlier, but your recruitment at Dunfermline was really good. Guys like Peter, Moore, Toddy, Evo, Mark Miller,
Tell him,
Andy Smith.
Duarte.
We'll forget Sergio Duarte.
She keeps
Sergio Duarte and Greg Shaw were my two. But we talk about all the good
So I'm never
ones,
allowed
and
to
then I
forget them.
said, what about the other one?
To be fair, Greg Shaw got a few goals, though, didn't he? Maybe not enough, but he got a few. So what was your recruitment policy? Like you said you and Dick would go and interview them or speak to them, get a feel for them.
We obviously watched them too. We were always out at games.
Aye.
You have to do that to keep up to scratch. That's what I've seen. But I'd been, you've got to do your homework to them all. Like wee Flea, Bob McCulloch, boys like that.
Aye, good players as well.
You watch games, you see them guys. There's so many different ones. And you Mark Muller, and you Stuart Petrie. They were great signings for us, weren't they?
Amazing.
Toddy, what about Toddy?
Toddy was a great servant as well, yeah.
Aye, we get the peanuts for him.
But all these guys, the club never had money, like you said earlier, so...
No, they didn't. So you had to scrat around. But, it was a great time. But then the club, everything was changing, it was... there was that many stories going about different things.
Going back before you left, we obviously get to the Premier Division. We have a brilliant season. We finished 5th, which was the club's highest ever finish in the Premier Division. And then the following season we go to Parkhead, we beat Celtic at Parkhead. Do you remember that one?
Was that when they...
Second game of the
they won
season.
the flag, was raising the flag?
Aye. We beat them 2-1.
Was it Big 8 scored?
Bingham and Hamish got the penalty.
Hamish. Hamish was a great boy too, wasn't he?
Another great servant, wasn't he?
Oh, lovely guy.
Fabulous. I remember getting on to him for no diving in the box. But I felt so embarrassed afterwards because Hamish, you shouldn't talk to Hamish like that.
Thank you for listening. Remember to subscribe to this podcast, which is available on all popular platforms such as Apple iTunes, Spotify and Google Podcasts. Thanks to our guest in this episode of Walking Down the Holbeath Road. This podcast was produced by Jan Motkiewicz and music supplied by Stuart Dusty Miller. We look forward to speaking to another former par in the next episode.